Blaustein, ABC News entertainment editor. Good morning.
Good morning, McGraw. Hello, Kelly.
Kelly's not here. That's Farrah. Say hi to Farrah.
Oh, sorry.
David,
Hello.
I intentionally did that just to mess you up. But don't worry, Kelly will be back on Monday.
Yes.
I'm just keeping the seat warm, that's all.
I miss her.
I miss her too.
I cannot do this hit with you guys. I'm sorry.
More importantly,
No Kelly, no hit.
Let's get Kelly on the phone right now.
What do you think of Michael Sam joining your Dallas Cowboys?
Love it. I'm in favor of it. In fact, on Saturday, I mean, before it happened, before anybody was talking about it, I was having an exchange. This is a little bit of name dropping, but, I'm cousins with Brad Sham, the incredibly talented voice of the Dallas Cowboys, the play-by-play guy, and I actually had a text exchange with him where I said the Cowboys should pick him up because I'm like, all the guy does is hit people with football, and I think the Cowboys need all the help that they can get. I think he'll be on the team. It might be a little while.
Right.
The Cowboys have some serious deficiencies on defense. I mean, particularly on their defensive line, and they just need people who can get to the quarterback, and that's all that Michael Sam seems to do. I know that in the preseason he was really going up against second and third stringers, but
Right.
11 tackles and 3 sacks for a defensive lineman.
He's doing something right.
Most notably in that last game, he had 6 solo tackles, which is excellent for a defensive lineman.
Right.
And also at the same time, he sacked Johnny Manziel twice, and Johnny Manziel is supposedly not a guy who's easy to sack.
Right.
So to me, there's something there.
I agree with you. We'll see what happens. All right. Before we talk the movie of the week, your thoughts on Joan Rivers passing? I mean, what a legend she was. People forget how big she really was.
Well, an interesting thing happened because a lot of times when celebrities die, they suddenly die, and there's an outpouring of love, and you reflect on their career. But, we've had a week to do this, and a lot of that reflection happened last week, where we paused to take time out to be like, oh, man, because we didn't think Joan Rivers was going to die. And it's so unusual because when an 81-year-old celebrity dies, it's generally not shocking.
Right.
And you do what you normally do. You sit there and you reflect on what was a successful career and how it affected people and all the things that they've done. And Joan Rivers, you didn't think of Joan Rivers in those terms because even though she was 81 years old, you didn't think of her as being 81 years old. Maybe the plastic surgery had something to do with it, but I think it was more of a function of, well, the night before she had this procedure, which killed her essentially, she was performing, and she planned on performing the night after she had the procedure. And in the months leading up to her death, she was everywhere. I mean, she just did a publicity tour not too long ago. She was still doing the Fashion Police. She helped welcome Jimmy Fallon onto the Tonight Show. She was on that first episode. It was just a couple of months ago when when she walked off the set of a CNN interview, when she stormed out in the middle of an interview, and she was just on Letterman joking about it. So we didn't think of Joan Rivers as someone who was 81 years old. There was plenty of vitality there, and she was as quick as ever, and she was maybe even dirtier than ever, and you certainly don't think or associate that with an 81-year-old woman. So, that certainly was very surprising. But, what did she mean to the entertainment industry? She meant an awful lot, and we didn't think of her in those terms either. I think we kind of took that for granted, lost in her career over the past few years with her ups and downs and her, her public battles, whether it was with the TV Guide channel or whether it was with E, was the fact that this was a groundbreaking woman. If it wasn't for her, we probably wouldn't have Sarah Silvermans. We probably wouldn't have Kathy Griffins. And speaking of Kathy Griffin, do yourself a favor, go online and go to the LA Times and find the piece that Kathy Griffin wrote about Joan Rivers today, because if there's anything you read about Joan Rivers, I think that's the most important thing you could read about Joan Rivers.
They were the best of friends, right? Weren't they?
Female comedian who was directly influenced, who became a comedian because of Joan Rivers, and that is part of Joan Rivers' legacy.
Weren't they the best of friends?
They were great friends.
Yeah.
And, Kathy Griffin, as she articulates, I don't want to ruin it because I want people to read it, but she articulates how she saw Joan Rivers on TV when she was a little kid and thought to herself, wow, a woman can do that.
Right.
Maybe I can do that too. And there are so many other women who are like that. But she wasn't just a trailblazer for women. She was a trailblazer in comedy as well. The type of comedy that she was doing at that time, very few people were doing, and they weren't doing in a public forum. And it was very brave of Joan Rivers to do what she did, because she was a lone wolf. She was really one of the only women to be doing that. There might have been Phyllis Diller and maybe a few other people, but she was the one person who blazed that trail on television.
Let's move to the movie of the week, The Identical.
And we probably should just continue talking about Joan Rivers, because this movie is not worth our time. And, there's a standout cast here. You have Ray Liotta, who gives one of the best performances of his career. Unfortunately, it's wasted on an awful movie, with Ashley Judd and Seth Green and Joe Pantoliano, all people that are tremendously talented, who I really like. But this movie is it's a dumb and silly movie, and I hate that. It's a faith-based movie which tries to be which tries to be a meaningful faith-based allegory, but it's a poorly executed allegory inspired by the notion that Elvis Presley did indeed have a stillborn twin, and this sort of takes that and it becomes almost like Elvis fan fiction in a sense, except the main characters, who are twins, neither of them are called Elvis. It's Ryan Wade and Drexel Hemsley, and Drexel is the one who becomes famous. They're separated at birth because their parents during the Depression cannot afford to raise both of them, and they give one of them away, Ryan Wade, who becomes the son of this preacher who wants him to follow him into the family business, the preacher being played by Ray Liotta. And he's a really good son, and he wants to do what his dad wants him to do, but he loves the music, and he's a gifted songwriter. And he has a particular vision, but he's not going into the music business. But his twin brother, who he's not aware of, and his twin brother's not aware of him, does go into the music business, and he has a career that is just like Elvis Presley's career. He sounds like Elvis, he looks like Elvis, he does the teen idol movies, he does the beach movies, he does the talk shows, he becomes an alcoholic, just like Elvis.
How about that?
Yeah, but the thing is, this Ryan Wade doesn't. Instead, he eventually becomes a musician, but his career is he essentially impersonates Drexel Hemsley and makes a lot of money doing that. Now, I'm not going to give away anything, even though it doesn't matter, because I don't think you should see the movie. Here's the thing that really blew my mind, because this is a film in which Elvis Presley doesn't seem to exist. Instead, it's Drexel Hemsley. And then at one point, a character drops Elvis's name. So Elvis does exist in this world with another guy who happens to look and sound just like Elvis, who had the same exact career Elvis had. And I'm like, how is that even possible? That's not even remotely realistic. And it was it deflated an already extremely mediocre story, in the sense that most of the time you feel like you're watching a Lifetime movie. So 1.5 out of 5 stars.
All right, there you go.
We should go back to Joan Rivers.
Yeah, well, we would if we had time. David Blaustein, have a good weekend. Happy NFL opening season, and we'll talk to you next week.
You too. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Don't forget, the movie Belleville is opening up. Don't go see this. What was it called? The Identical. It sounds like it's a terrible movie. Go see the movie Belleville this weekend. It's being re-released at 13 area Warenberg theaters. Writer-director Dan Stedman was on the show yesterday, and he brought us 4 movie prize packs to give away. These include the Belleville movie poster, the CD soundtrack, and a T-shirt. Here's the phone number to call, 314-969-KTRS. That's 314-969-5877. The first 4 callers will receive the package to Belleville and go see it this weekend at a movie theater near you. Belleville, all filmed in and around St. Louis. Now,